White is attacking the pawn on d5, but black is also defending that pawn. So how do we know if capturing the pawn on d5 is a good idea for white? Let's count. Usually you want to have at least one more attacker than your opponent has defenders. Notice white has two attackers, the rook on d3 and the bishop on f3. Black, on the other hand, only has one defender, the rook on d8. Since white has one more attacker than black has defenders, white will make the first and the last capture, usually a good sign for the attacker. White makes the first capture with rook takes d5, capturing black's pawn. Black captures white's rook with rook takes d5. So far, white has only captured a pawn and black has captured a rook, but white gets the final capture with bishop takes d5, capturing black's rook. Notice that both sides captured a rook, but white also captured a pawn, meaning white won a pawn from the captures thanks to having one more attacker than black had a defender. Let's take a look at another position. In this position, notice that white has two attackers against black's pawn on d5, the rook on d4 and the bishop on f3. Black, however, has two defenders, the rook on d8 and the bishop on e6. So there's two attackers against two defenders. When there is the same number of attackers and defenders, the defense usually has the advantage. The reason why is that although the attacker captures first, the defense captures last. Let's see this idea in action. After bishop takes d5, white captures first, taking the pawn on d5, so white is currently up a pawn. Let's keep track of all the captures as we go along. Black captures white's bishop with rook takes d5. So black has captured a bishop and white only a pawn. After rook takes d5, white captures the black rook. So white has now captured a rook and a pawn, and black has only captured a bishop. White is in the lead for now, but black gets the last capture with bishop takes d5, capturing white's rook. Let's review the captures. Black captured a bishop and a rook, and white captured a pawn and a rook. Since both sides captured a rook, they cancel each other out, and we see what's left. Black captured a bishop, and white captured a pawn. This means black won a bishop for a pawn. Since two attackers did not succeed against two defenders, white needs to add one more attacker to the d5 pawn. Can you see how white can do this? That's right, knight to c3. White now has three attackers against two defenders. Black would like to add a third defender to keep the balance between attackers versus defenders, but black cannot add a third defender on the next move. So black plays knight to g6, dreaming of playing knight e7 on the next turn in order to add that third defender to the d5 pawn. White should not allow this to happen and should capture the d5 pawn right away. Does it matter which way white captures? It sure does. When you decide to capture, it's a good idea not to capture with your most valuable attacking piece first. Since the bishop and knight are both worth 3 points, the 5-point piece, the rook, should not capture first. Why? Because after rook takes d5, black is able to trade white's most valuable attacker for black's least valuable defender, the bishop. So after bishop takes d5 and knight takes d5, notice that black captured white's rook and white captured a bishop and a pawn. Black gained 5 points and white only gained 4 from these trades. This means black got the better deal from the captures. Since capturing with the most valuable attacking piece lost material for white, white should capture with the least valuable attacking piece first. The least valuable attacking pieces are the knight and the bishop, so either capture would be fine. Let's capture with the bishop first. After bishop takes d5, white makes the first capture, gaining a pawn. Black captures white's bishop with bishop takes d5. Black is currently up a bishop for a pawn, but white gets the next capture. In this position, white could capture with the least valuable piece again with knight takes d5, and it would be a good choice. But notice that white can also decide to play rook takes d5, capturing with the most valuable piece. Why is it okay to take with the most valuable piece now, but it wasn't good a move before? The reason why is that black's only remaining defensive piece is the rook, which is as valuable as white's rook. You do not want to capture with the most valuable piece when your opponent can capture with a less valuable piece, such as in the last example where white lost a rook for a bishop. After rook takes d5, black captures white's rook, and now white makes the final capture with knight takes d5, capturing black's rook. Both sides captured a rook as well as a bishop, but white also captured a pawn, so white won a pawn by counting carefully and making the right moves. Let's take a look at one more position together. Is it always true that when there are an equal number of defenders against attackers, that the defense will get the better deal from the captures? Not always. In this position, white has two attackers against f7, the knight on g5 and the bishop on c4. Black has two defenders, the queen on e7 and the king on e8. White captures a pawn with knight takes f7. If black takes the knight, the queen must make the first capture because the king would put itself into check by capturing the knight. Since the queen is worth more than both of white's attackers, the knight and the bishop, black will lose material after queen takes f7, bishop takes f7 check, king takes f7. White captured a queen and a pawn worth 10 points for a bishop and a knight worth 6 points, so white gained 4 points from the captures. Counting is a very useful idea, but remember not to blindly follow the counting method. You always have to think carefully with each position. Now that you've learned the importance of counting, it's time to practice counting captures